Welcome back to the Tour Today show. My name is Steve Fleck. Every day there's racing at the Tour. We will talk about the highs and the lows, the thrills and the spills, the tragedies and the triumphs at the Tour, aka La Grande Boucle. On each episode of the Tour Today, I will have a special guest on the show with me. Today, I'm very pleased to have with me a co-founder and the chief evangelist of Training Peaks, the world's leading endurance sports training software. Welcome, Dirk Friel. Dirk, great to be with you.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. Yeah, this is fun times. I'm glad we have a Tour de France.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a moment. I just want to let the folks listening in to thank them for tuning in to the Tour Today show with Steve Fleck. If you have any questions for me or my guests, please send them to me on Twitter. That's probably the easiest place to reach me. You can find me at Steve Fleck. Dirk, you mentioned unusual that we even have a Tour de France. This has been a crazy year. The UCI, in conjunction with the ASO and all the major race and event organizers in cycling, they've compressed a whole year, almost a whole year of professional cycling into about 2.5 months. And indeed, the Tour is on, but there's some question marks if we may even make it to the Champs-Élysées.
Oh, well, hopefully, knock on wood, everything's looking good so far. I haven't heard anything otherwise. So, yeah, fingers crossed we do make it to the finish. And we have 2 more Grand Tours yet to go after this. So
that's right.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah, they come up in quick succession right after the Tour finishes, the Giro d'Italia and then the Vuelta a España. And also going on underneath all of that are a lot of the famous classic races as well. We're going to have the Tour of Flanders, we're going to have Paris-Roubaix, and the women's schedule, the Pro Tour women's schedule is running concurrently as well. So if you're a fan of cycling, I guess the upside of this, Dirk, is if you're a fan of cycling, in 2.5 months, you get to see it all.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, this is the first year we're having a women's Paris-Roubaix, which I'm really excited for. I think on that one day, there's Paris-Roubaix and a Grand Tour stage on the very same day. So yeah, very condensed, compact schedule. Usually we're kind of hanging it up right now and we're kind of done with cycling in a way. But yeah, super exciting.
And going right into the fall, into November. Now, you have a personal relationship with the Tour. You're a coach, a renowned coach, and you coached Yanni Brankovic to a 9th place finish when he was riding for Astana in the 2012 Tour de France.
Yeah, I mean, I don't coach a whole lot anymore. You know, Training Peaks definitely takes up most of my time. I definitely used to coach more in the past, and definitely that was a highlight, you know, helping a rider get to the top 10 in the Tour. You know, it's also difficult. You know, I was there on the ground in the follow vehicle and the time trials. The final time trial was on a Saturday, and the day before on a Friday, he actually hit a dog and crashed. So he was all banged up and couldn't even hold his time trial position very well. So it's an amazing, tough tour. You know, the tour is always tough, and it's amazing what these riders have to go through. But yeah, I love going to the Tour. One year I actually just brought a tent and a bike and just followed it along and camped along the side of the roads like a real tifosi. So I'm a real fan of the race.
Is there something in North America that we're missing? I mean, the Europeans are so passionate about it. The French, the Italians, the Spanish, the Belgians. You know, even in the Scandinavian countries, like cycling is huge. The Dutch. Yeah, there's cycling fans in North America and the US and Canada, but I feel there's like a disconnect there. I don't know what it is. And it only gets up to a certain level, and then we don't have more fans than we do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have the big ball sports, you know, and it's all about culture, you know. I don't know. I certainly would love to see it grow more. I've seen hints of it. You know, we had the Tour of Colorado for a few years, and people were camping out and following that just like it was a mini Tour de France. I really love that. Tour of California, you know, a lot of it comes down to just the consistency of having the teams and the races around, and really comes down to the races. And if you can't maintain races for more than a decade, maybe one of the biggest races we used to have, you know, in Colorado was the Coors Classic. And that was really why I got into the sport, was I got to see Greg LeMond in my backyard and Davis Phinney and those big names racing. And I got to see other Americans, you know, winning races. So yeah, I think it comes down to, you know, being able to maintain a good race schedule in the US.
Well, I think we're in a bit of a valley generally with sort of pro level racing in North America, but there's little embers of possibility. I had a meeting with a group that is considering putting on a fairly advanced multi-day stage race, UCI top level women's stage race in the Northeast, and it would actually cross the border from New York. And they were thinking about sending it from New York City all the way to Montreal. And I had a meeting with this group, this organizing committee, just a couple of months ago, right in the middle of the pandemic. It was actually nice talking about an event that was off far enough in the future that it might actually run. They were talking about 2022 or 2023 with getting this off the ground. So, cycling, I hope it comes back. There's some embers of possibility down there. Let's shift to talking about the stage today, Dirk. This was I'm hoping you watched it. It was just nonstop action. This tour has been fascinating. Every stage has been amazing. It's a very unusual start for the tour. Not really sprinters-oriented stages, but the sprinters have been mixing it up, on the stages we have. But today was the first day that the GC was really going to, possibly take a shake up. And it was a 160-kilometer journey from where they spent last night in Sisteron to the ski resort of Austria's Merlet. And that place, Dirk, fairly famous. There was a famous stage back in the 1971 Tour de France where Luis Arcana, a Spanish cyclist, winner of the Tour de France, took 10 minutes out of the great Eddie Merckx in one of the great solo breakaways, finishing at the same place at the ski resort at Austria Merlet. What did you think of the stage today, stage 4?
Yeah, I mean, all eyes were on it. It was definitely the first kind of big GC showdown. This is another little tidbit. This is the earliest mountaintop finish of a stage ever in the Tour de France, stage 4. Yep. And that's never happened before. So that's pretty unique. We've already had a really hard stage, which was stage 2, after a rainy stage 1, where maybe 30% of the field crashed. So every day has been, just kind of a nail biter in a way. So it was really exciting to see this. I don't think anybody really lost it today. All the main GC guys were in there, so they fought hard, and it was a really exciting finish, kind of sprint to the finish.
Well, it starts to get a little bit cliche, and everyone's saying this, is these early stages is you're never going to win the Tour de France, but you can certainly lose it if you're a GC contender and you're losing, big seconds or multiple minutes, on the stage. And the key thing is to stay close. And if you look over the top 10 on the finish today and in the GC right now, all the main contenders are there. As those who watch the stage, and well, Dirk, Primoz Roglic ended up winning the stage. It was a fantastic final 2 or 3 kilometers, an outstanding lead out. We talked about American riders, an outstanding lead out to that final burst to the line by Primoz Roglic from another teammate of his on the Jumbo-Visma team, the young American rider Sepp Kuss.
Yeah, Sepp's another Colorado boy from Durango, Colorado. Yeah, great to see Sepp is really shining. He did great in the Dauphiné. He was kind of last man standing for Primoz in terms of having a teammate towards the end. Again, today he showed, he's one of the top up and coming stars. So that's awesome to see. Alaphilippe was 4th on this, or 5th on the stage.
5th, yeah.
So if 4 guys beat Alaphilippe, those 4 guys are flying. Roglic crashed in the Dauphiné. Doesn't seem to be affecting him so much right now. If it is, maybe at night when he rolls over on his elbow, I think his elbow maybe got scratched up in that, so it might be affecting a little bit of his sleep, but he's definitely still looking like the favorite. He was kind of my favorite coming in. Egan Bernal was another favorite. Who knows? He didn't look quite sharp towards the end today, but it was a very, it was a 15 seconds of maybe reckoning and the truth coming out there. But he didn't lose any time. So they're all still pretty even.
He did look a little I wouldn't say rough, Bernal, but when that big acceleration came with about 2K to go, it almost like a little gap opened up and he had to really bear down. You could see him gritting his teeth,
Yeah.
to keep with the wheel in front of him. So I don't know. I mean, he is obviously the defending champion, and no one wants to rule out a defending champion and a rider of his quality, but or maybe he's just keeping the powder dry. Who knows? Others that really impressed for me, and you mentioned the Dauphiné, Dirk, and the Dauphiné was really the only significant race many of these favorites had. So on a form chart basis, it's really the only thing we can go on. Roglic was third there. Another rider that impressed in the finale today, the Frenchman riding for Cofidis, I thought looked great, was Guillaume Martin. He really lit it up with 2K to go. When Koos pulled off, it was Martin's cue to really go full gas, and he looked great. He almost won the thing.
Yeah. Well, I think actually he attacked first, and Sepp kind of looked over at him and was like, I can't match that.
Yeah.
So he kind of swung off and let Roglic kind of take it from there. So he definitely lit it up, looked great punch towards the end. Another rider I'm really excited about is Pogacar on UAE. His first Grand Tour was last year. At age 20, he was third in the Vuelta. He's 21 now. Super rider. He looked amazing. I mean, he easily got second and had a bit of a gap on third there. He's now the current best young rider. And I actually spoke with his coach, Inigo San Millan, this morning, just to inquire, did he crash at all on the stage one, the rainy day? And he did not. So he seems to be coming through, so far unscathed. And I'd love to see that guy finish on the podium.
Well, it's been a great tour for so far, with only 4 stages done for the UAE team. Alexander Kristoff taking that yellow jersey on the first stage, and a good defense, but he kind of knew he was going to lose it. But yeah, Pogacar, super impressive. He was 4th at the Dauphiné. So again, on form, you got to look at him, and he can time trial. This kid can climb and he can time trial. So he has those key hallmarks and key factors that define what a great GC rider has to do today. Although the time trials in this particular Tour de France, Dirk, diminished with only that one time trial on the penultimate stage.
Yeah, that stage is going to be intense. I mean, there's a lot of flat run-in to the final climb, so it's going to be tricky in terms of what equipment do you choose and how do you pace the first half of that. So that's going to be definitely a major test of these guys. If we go back to Roglic and Pogacar, they're both Slovenian, right?
Yes.
And we mentioned another Slovenian earlier in the show, Jani Brakovic. So I don't know, they're a small country, but they're starting to. There's some other big name Slovenians as well. So kind of neat to see a small country have their time in the limelight.
Now, we mentioned Alaphilippe. I mean, really, he is in yellow, so all he had to do was literally follow wheels today and not let the gap, open up, too much, over those in front. He's still in front. Adam Yates is in second, and Roglic on time bonuses that he got on the finish line today. He'll move up into third spot. So Dirk, are you believing these stories with Alaphilippe that he's just here to win stages and the yellow really doesn't mean much to him? I personally, I don't think so. I think he's going to ride this as long as he can.
Absolutely. Like he has in the past, he held, did he hold it for 12 or 13 days, I believe, and he won the time trial, and he can absolutely hold it for a good number of days to come. I think I saw an interview today with him after the finish where he was alluding to trying to hold the yellow for as long as possible. So we might see, that interview get published. Absolutely. He's going to try and stay in the yellow as long as he can. And I believe he can. Absolutely. He got isolated. However, his team had to ride a lot. So on the final climb, he was isolated. So that's definitely a bit of a downfall, but gosh, I definitely know he's going to hold it for a good while here, I suspect.
That's a good point. Dunasek Quick-Step, not a team that's set up purely for climbing, like Jumbo-Visma is, Ineos is, a couple of the other teams are, but they're more set up for the all-around, really for going for stage wins. And as you had pointed out, I think you're right. Like his weakness is going to be support when they get into the big climbs. He's going to be isolated, early on. Luckiest rider, Tish Benut. Did you see,
Yeah.
did you see that? Oh my God. My heart was in my throat when he went over the guardrail.
I know. I was trying to see how he broke three different tubes on his bike: the top tube, the seat tube, and the chain
Seat
stay in
stays.
the back.
Yeah.
And, luckily that wasn't his leg. I was just absolutely amazed how he got over that, landed on the grass, got back up, grabbed a bike, kept going. And I don't actually know what happened there. I don't know if he had disc brakes and he happened to hit him too hard and they locked up or something, but it was dry. It was a dry, nice, smooth turn, and everybody else made it just fine. So I don't know what was going on there, but he definitely is quite lucky for sure.
Yeah, really lucky. That could have been disastrous. Just the way he hit the guardrail, and he kind of surfed along the top, the top of the guardrail, then fell over on his side, dusted himself off a little bit, straightened out the jersey, got the new bike, and off he went. So before we move on to the next stage, let's just quickly review. Dirk, the jerseys. As I mentioned, Alaphilippe still in yellow and probably will be for a few days. Adam Yates in second and Primoz Roglic in third. In the green jersey, no change there. Peter Sagan still wearing green. The white jersey, of course, a change. Taj Pogacar moved into the white jersey position. And Dirk, I think that might be a position he, has a good shot at holding if he shows this form, all the way to Paris. And then in the polka dot, the KOM, Benoit Cosnefroy, there were KOM points on offer today, but the breakaway group of six riders that got away early on and had a lead for the bulk of the stage, none of the riders in that breakaway were able to get enough points to move up significantly into the KOM standings. So the young French rider, former U23 world champion Benoit Cosnefroy, will still be in the polka dot jersey tomorrow. He's got 21 points and a good lead in that particular competition. Tomorrow, Dirk, it's a 183 kilometer run from a nearby ski village, Gap, all the way to the village of Privas. Now, it's a net downhill stage, and they're talking about it being one possibly for the sprinters, but there's some lumpy uphill in the final kilometers if you've had a look at the parcours.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what that last maybe 5K, even the final K, looks like. It looks like there's a bump up to the finish, so it just depends on how steep and long that might be. Somebody like Caleb Ewan may not like that as much, as a Sam Bennett or a Sagan. So it'd be interesting to see how difficult the final kilometers are. I did notice the sprint line for the green jersey is very early.
Yes.
It's 40K in or something like that.
About 40, I'd say, 45K maybe.
Yeah. So it's definitely, that's good for Sagan. You can get out there and get some more points, sprint for that, and then kind of sit back and save it for the final finish line.
My pick is, and he took a big turn. He actually was on the front before Sepp Kuss took over for Jumbo-Visma. Wout van Aert looked really strong today, higher up in the mountains. So maybe it's a day for Wout tomorrow on the run from Gap to Privas. 183 kilometers they will go tomorrow. Dirk, let's talk about Training Peaks. Your wonderful and amazing company that's just like rules the world of training for coaches, for athletes. I know you've got a great founding story. I got to hear it at the conference last year. What's the quick summary of that founder story?
Well, the family business I grew up in was coaching. My father was a coach and author, and Joe Friel he's written many books. And as I started to end my cycling professional career, I took up coaching under my father's wing. And that was late 90s. I started coaching in 97, but we were literally using the fax machine and email attachments, and heart rate files and power files were just attached to emails coming in. So essentially we just had data fragmented all over the place. It wasn't very efficient. And so, it's the late 90s .com era. So I said, hey, Dad, we need to figure out a way to have an online system, calendar, scheduling, be able to just manage all the data that was coming in, a lot better, and to effectively give our athletes a better quality service. So luckily, the best man at my wedding, best friend, Gear Fisher, was a web developer at the time. He had a day job, and I hit him up with the concept and idea in 1999. And he definitely took the project on. We stayed up late nights and kind of hacked it together. And by early 2000, we were using it, with our clients. And then it just steadily grew from there. And we started to help other coaching businesses with this application. And so it's really grown. I couldn't be happier. It's been great. Never thought I'd have a software company coming out of pro cycling, but it was just a void in the marketplace and something that I personally needed myself. And still to this day, it serves the same purpose, helping athletes reach their goals and helping coaches, build their businesses and give a better quality service back to their athletes and teams, such as the Tour de France teams as well. So yeah, it's been a great couple decades.
And speaking of the Tour de France, you're popular with the Pro Tour and World Tour teams. How many are you working with?
We right around 17 of the 22 teams in the Tour are on Training Peaks. Really our first, presence in the Tour was about 2005, 2006 with T-Mobile and Lotto, which is still around, Belgian team. They were one of the first to come on as well. So, yeah, it's been fun. It's also great. I love going to the training camps over the winter, Mallorca and Tenerife, et cetera, and getting to meet the riders and staff members. So that's kind of like our time to really work with the teams and get the system established before the race season actually begins.
Awesome. And I know Training Peaks puts on a great conference, the endurance coaching conference. It's one of the best events of that kind I've ever been to. But like a lot of events this year, Dirk, because of the pandemic and COVID-19, you're going virtual with that. And to date, I understand from the director for the conference, Michelle Moore, one of your great internal people at Training Peaks, you've got over 11,000 registered, I hear.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a great, it's been a great conference. It's the Endurance Coaching Summit. You've attended in the past yourself. This year with the pandemic, we just decided to open it up, make it free. We have great presenters. So you can go to summit.trainingpeaks.com to sign up, see all of our presenters. But it's a really fun time. It's kind of the science and the business of coaching coming together. So it really is kind of oriented towards coaches, but certainly we'll have a lot of athletes attend this year, and just because they want to learn as much as they can to help themselves out. So yeah, it's a great event. Looking forward to it. We usually alternate between the United States and we've gone to the UK in the past. This year, obviously, we're all virtual, and we'll have a lot to learn from it.
You have been watching the Tour Today show. My guest has been today, Dirk Friel, the co-founder of Training Peaks. Dirk, thank you for your time. I know you're really busy. Appreciate you taking out a few minutes to talk about the tour with me today.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. It's been great. Thank you so much.
My guest tomorrow for stage 4 of the Tour Today show will be Peter Abraham, a leading marketing expert on endurance sports business, working with brands such as Canyon and races and events like the Steamboat Gravel event. I'm Steve Fleck on behalf of the team at Endurance Zone TV. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you all back tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time for the Tour Today show.